Hi, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Studying Abroad with Mises. My name is Ruham Manzoor, and I'm the managing partner of Mises. We've been in this industry for more than 14 years, helping more than 3,000 students find a home for themselves, or play a part in this very transformative time of their lives. Today, we're here with one of our biggest partners in Japan, Tokyo International University. So we will be speaking with Mr. Ben Serbrook, who is the International Admissions Officer for Tokyo International University. I'll also be talking with two of my students, one of them in his third year doing the digital business course, and the other one is doing international relations, Aminu. I wanted to introduce you first to Mr. Ben Serbrook. Um, Ben, how are you?
I am good, Ruham. Thanks so much for having me tonight, and thank you everyone for joining us. I'm super excited to be here. So I'll just
You,
give a little bit of background around me. My name's Ben, as Ruham said. I've been working for TIU for the past 3 years, and I moved to Japan about 5 years ago. So I've been living in Japan for 5 years. I'm originally from the US in California, Los Angeles. And I also did do a short-term study abroad in Japan as well, about 7 years ago, back in 2014. So if you do have any questions about studying abroad or what life is like in Japan, I can definitely answer those for you.
this is interesting because a lot of, when we deal with universities in Japan and we deal with the international officers, a lot of times they're from US or UK, and
Yeah.
a lot of times they came to Japan for a study abroad year or a semester, and then just fell in love with the place. So um,
Yeah.
it seems
Japan
to
has
be
that
a
effect.
it seems to be like
Yeah.
a continuing trend. And then I'll introduce our student and good friend Amer bin Kibriya, who's currently studying third year at TIU at the Digital Business and Innovation Program. Hey, Amer, how are you?
I'm doing great, Rompan. Thank you very much for having me. And I'm still going to introduce myself. So my name is Amer, and I'm currently studying in the third year, and I'm majoring in digital business innovation, which is in short DBI. And yeah, that's pretty much it.
So, Amer, what made you apply to Japan and digital business?
Well, I'll first answer why I chose Japan, and it's basically the, the culture. Actually, to be very honest, Japan, the culture is quite different from what you see all over the world, right? You can go to the States, you can go to Australia, you can go to Europe, right? And well, all over the world, it's almost the same. But for Japan, the culture is very different, and that's why I wanted to discover a new culture, get to meet people that think differently. And Japan is a very beautiful country. It's a safe country. It's quite well
I'm sure we'll
I,
talk about the stats, and this is so good to because you
mhm.
have to have kind of like an adventurous spirit to want to do this. Because like we're familiar. Like the reason people apply to US, UK, and Canada and all that from Bangladesh is that we're familiar with the culture. We grew up with the Hollywood and all of that. But Japan is a completely different culture, but it's also equally safe, rewarding, and all that. So I'm
Exactly.
glad to hear your perspective. We also have with us Amimul Ehsan Khan. I keep calling him Aminul instead of Amimul, so sorry about that. He is currently in his second year studying international relations. Amimul, how are you?
Hello,
Maybe you can
Bhaiya.
introduce yourself.
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me today. Yeah, so for everyone, I am Amimul Ihsan Khan, and currently I'm at second year, and I have been studying in TIU since 2020 March, and my major is international relations. And yeah, one of the reasons why I chose international relations is I was always curious and interested about the development sector and social works. I've been doing it was my extracurricular activities, you could say. So I got my inspiration from there. And about Japan, Yeah, it was the one and only Roham Manzoor Bhaiya who inspired me to take this route. Obviously, I before selecting my undergrad path, I searched a lot, and but who attracted my attention was that speech at the NART community. There was this event, yeah, and Roham Bhaiya there presented a slide presentation about Japan, studying in Japan about TIU, and that really caught my attention. And yeah, now I'm here after that.
I mean, those of you who don't know, Nerd Community is actually a wonderful community of young students who, have created this platform, for, studying abroad and different things. So I did a talk there about why not Japan, and Aminu was there. I'm so glad to hear that. We also have with us in the background Maisha, our senior manager, who has been, helping us set all these things up. Maisha, how are you? Thank you for being here. So she will be helping me with a lot of the background work and things. Now, before we get into anything else, the way we have designed it is, Ben, you're going to show us a presentation about Tokyo International University, about studying in Japan, and that will cover kind of like a lot of questions that students will have. But then the really interesting part, because once the presentation opens, we will open our door to questions, and people can directly ask questions from Ben, myself, Amimul, Amer. So they can directly ask them about their own experiences, kind of scholarships. You be as ask about as invasive a question as you can, and then they will decide how much they want to review. So I hope there will be a lot of questions this time. Again, thank you so much for making time. Thank you so much to the audience who are listening in. Ben, you want to share your presentation now?
Yeah, so I'll go ahead and start showing my presentation. And again, thank you everyone so much for being here. And so we'll go ahead and jump in. All right. Can everyone see my presentation? All good. Well, thank you again so much, everyone, for being here. So we're going to talk a little bit about Tokyo International University's E-Track program for the 2022 school year. So let's just talk a little bit about TIU, so Tokyo International University. We were founded in 1965 in an area near Tokyo called Kawagoe, about 30 minutes by train from the city center. However, our English track, our E-Track program, began just 6 years ago in 2015. As I mentioned, we're in the greater Tokyo area. And even though we began our program just 6 years ago, we have really grown quite a bit. We've gone from just over 40 international students to over 1,300, and they now make up 20% of the entire student body on campus. And those 1,300 students come from 68 different countries around the world, including a number from Bangladesh. I believe we have over 60 Bangladeshi students at this time.
Hi, Ben. I want to interrupt you because we're not being able to see what you're probably seeing. We're seeing the whole, yeah. So if you could share
So sorry about that. All right. Is it going through now? Maybe.
Yeah. Okay. If you could, display the slideshow and then share that, maybe that will work. Yes. From current slide.
Yes. All right. Is it flipping through?
No. Maybe you need to reshare it again, like reshare it from the full screen.
Yes. All right, 1 second. All right, I believe this has fixed it.
Yes, now it has fixed.
All right. So yeah, as I mentioned, we have 1,300 international students from 68 different countries around the world. And our faculty is quite international as well. 70% of our professors come from outside of Japan. And they come from all around the world. We have professors from France, Canada, the US, Kenya, India, Sri Lanka, Taiwan, Singapore. So you're really getting that kind of diverse viewpoint from not only your classmates, but also from your professors as well. All right. Ruham, will you let me know, did the slide change? Is it all good?
Yeah, it changed. Thank you.
Perfect. Okay. So as I mentioned, we are about a 30-minute train ride from the city center of Tokyo. However, in 2023, we are opening up a brand new campus right in the heart of Tokyo in an area called Ikebukuro. And this will be where our English track program now takes place. So this will be kind of the global campus. So for any of you who are thinking of applying next year, this will be the campus that the majority of your career will take place on. So that's really exciting that you'll get to be kind of on a brand new shiny campus. We also just want to talk a little bit about studying in Tokyo, because I think we know that Japan isn't necessarily kind of the first country on your mind when you're looking to study abroad. However, Tokyo is a really great place to study, in my personal opinion, and I think Amr and Khan will talk about this a little bit more later. But Tokyo is ranked as the second best student city in the world in 2019 by QS. They actually didn't have any rankings for 2020 and 2021, but that was the second year in a row. And this is due to a mix of things, like about how safe Tokyo is, how much the ease of public transit, the relatively cheap cost of living compared to cities like London or Sydney or New York. And also it's just a lot of fun. And I think we'll talk more about that later too, but I did my study abroad in Tokyo, and it was one of the best semesters of my life, so I really can't recommend it enough. Now, to talk a little bit more about our English track program, we have 3 majors available for our program. We have a business economics degree, digital business and innovation, which is a Bachelor of Science, and then we have international relations. And I'll talk a little bit about each of these 3 majors, but our degree programs are in general 4 years. We do have an early graduation option for high achieving students. And of course, they are all taught in English. We do not require any Japanese before you come to the university, although we do require 1 semester, but again, I'll talk about that a little bit later. So our business economics degree is a little bit more of your traditional business degree. We have kind of 5 focus areas that you can really hone your skills in, management, marketing, finance, things like that. And our professors really focus on teaching practical skills that you can use outside of the classroom, because that's, the whole point of you coming to university. Our second major, as I mentioned before, is a Bachelor of Science in Digital Business and Innovation. Now, Amr is majoring in this, so he'll be able to talk about this a little bit more, but this is a really unique major, and it's kind of the only one of its kind in Japan right now. It looks at the intersection of IT and the technology world with the business world. So you can study things like coding, cryptocurrencies and blockchain technology, artificial intelligence, digital marketing, data analytics, which is like a huge, fast-growing field right now. So there's a lot of different options. And we think it's a really modern major for students who are maybe a little bit more science or math-minded. And it really gives you those skills to be successful in our modern world. Along with this major, we also opened up a brand new innovation lab on our campus with a company called Tech Mahindra, which is the 3rd largest IT company in India and one of the largest in the world. And along with this, we've started doing some really cool things, like holding a career experience practicum course with Tech Mahindra. So, students in the DBA major are able to get hands-on experience with real leaders in the field, and they're really able to apply those after. Our final major is international relations, which Khan is majoring in. And again, I'm sure he can talk a little bit about this. But again, we have kind of 4 focus areas within this major for kind of what it is you're hoping to study. So if you're looking maybe a little bit more in kind of how nations trade and how the world economy works, you can study international political economy. Or if you're interested more in about, like the United Nations and how all of those organizations work, you can study global governance. And one thing we really like to mention about this major is how flexible it is. Of course, many students who major in this maybe want to go on for, in the future to careers like working for the UN or other non-governmental organizations, maybe working for their home government, maybe going on to grad school. But we also see a lot of students who go into the business world with this major because it gives them a really international mindset and something companies really want. So we see things like risk consultancy, or maybe working in like the international PR arm of a large multinational corporation. So it's quite flexible. And another point I just want to touch on is how wonderful the faculty at TIU are. So over half of our faculty have degrees from the top 100 globally ranked universities in the entire world. And that's something that you really get to be a part of. You really get to be a part of that really high caliber kind of education. So it's going to be a really great thing. And also the really great connections to have from your professors as well, if you're looking to go on in the future in academia. So I did mention we don't require any Japanese. However, we do require that you take at least one semester of Japanese language courses during your time at TIU. And then you can continue to keep studying Japanese in the future, especially if you're looking to maybe work in Japan in the future. We really encourage you to keep taking those classes, and you really can achieve full fluency by graduation. We also want to talk, I'll hit on student life a little bit, but again, maybe our students here today can talk about that. But we know how scary it can be to move to a brand new country. Maybe you don't speak the language, it's maybe got a bit of a different culture from what you're used to. So we have an entire office dedicated to student life support for our students. It's called the International Exchange Office, and they do things like airport pickup when you first come to Japan. They help students open a bank account. We can put you in touch with an English-speaking real estate agent if you're looking for an apartment. And then we also provide interpretation services. So if you need to go to the doctor, or you just need you need somebody to come with you to help interpret for something important at the bank or something like that, we do have a number of peer assistants that can come with you and interpret for you. We also like to talk about dining options on and around campus. So we do have a fully halal certified cafeteria on our campus, and a number of restaurants around campus, as well as a few supermarkets, are also halal certified. So you can definitely get that kind of appropriate food in your life if that's something you're worried about. We, of course, like to talk about the clubs at TIU. We have a number of different sports teams like soccer, baseball, archery, as well as non-sport activities like a hip-hop dance club, an orchestra, a photography club, even a TEDx TIU club. So we have the TED Talks on our campus as well. We also have a Model United Nations team that was entirely started by our international students. So if that's something you're interested in, we really encourage you to join. They're one of the strongest teams in Japan right now, and they've won the most awards at every competition they've gone to since they started. And we have a scholarship related to this as well, but I'll talk about that a little bit more at the end. We, of course, have dormitories available to students. They come fully furnished, and we have both single and shared options in a number of different styles, like shared kitchen or your own kitchen. And the rent is really comparable to other places in the area. So they range anywhere from around 250 USD to around 400 USD per month. We, of course, also have exchange programs if you're looking to study abroad during your time at our university, as well as a sister school in the United States called Willamette University in Salem, Oregon. And we have a dual degree program with them as well. We also like to just mention our Career Center. We, of course, provide full career support in both English and Japanese. All the things that you would expect: resume review, interview practice, kind of career guidance. They also hold an on-campus career fair every year. They bring companies to campus so you can go to information sessions, and they can even put you in direct contact with companies that are looking to hire international students. We're really proud of our Career Center. We have a 95% job placement rate for 2020 for our international students, which is really great. So you can really expect to be able to find a job if you come to TIU. And this is for the students that got a job prior to graduation, just because of the way the job hunting system works. 95% of our international students had a job offer prior to graduating. However, if maybe that's not the path that you're on exactly, you can get a job hunting visa for up to 1 year post-graduation. Finally, we're going to talk a little bit about tuition reduction scholarships. So tuition at TIU is in general on average around 12,800 USD per year. However, we do have tuition reduction scholarships that reduce the cost of the tuition that you pay. They come at rates of 30, 50, 80, and 100%. You apply for them at the same time that you apply for admission to the university. It's really easy. You just check a box, write a quick paragraph. And the requirements that we're looking for are the same as we're looking at in our admission. We'll talk a little bit more about this later, but we just like to let you know that this is something that all students are eligible to apply for, and the vast majority of our students are receiving some form of tuition reduction scholarship. I also mentioned that we have a Model UN scholarship. So if you're looking to major in international relations and you have Model UN experience, and you're willing to join our Model UN team, you can get an enrollment fee waiver as well. And there's an application for that, and we select a few students each year to receive that as well. And then finally, we also like to talk about the Jaso Scholarship, which is a living expense scholarship provided by the Japanese government. It's for your either first 6 or 12 months of your life in Japan, and it provides 450 USD per month. So it's a great way to support yourself during your first year in university. Students can also work part-time in Japan, up to 28 hours per week, and the average minimum wage that we see is around 10 USD per hour. And there's a number of different jobs available off campus, but we also have some on campus as well. And then finally, we'll just talk a little bit about admission. However, MACES also knows this, but we generally require your academic transcript, an English proficiency test, and then a statement of purpose. For the English proficiency test, we accept a number of different tests. We accept IELTS, TOEFL, TOEIC, the Duolingo test, the Pearson test, the Cambridge test, and then as well as we accept O-level scores and IB English exams as well. Those can all count as your English test. The minimum score we require on the IELTS is a 5.5, so that's kind of our standard. However, we do encourage you to score higher, especially if you want a higher scholarship, because the better your grades are, the better your English score is, the better your essay is, the better your chances are to receive a higher scholarship. I can tell you right now, around our average student is getting between a 6.0 and a 6.5 on the IELTS. And then just kind of finally, we have both April and September intake. So we're already done with one April intake application period, but we have another one coming up next week, and then our final one in November. And then if you're looking to join us in September, we have 4 application periods, 1 in November, and then 3 next year, 1 in January, 1 in February, and 1 in April. All right, so I did a lot of talking. So that's it from me right now. But thank you so much for listening, and I'll throw it back to Ruham. I think you're muted, Ruham.
Yeah.
Oops. This is something that happens, right? It's like talking to your parents. Anyway, so the thing is, what I really liked about the presentation is, of course, you've mentioned everything. You've mentioned the scholarship, living expense, and everything. But a big part of our students are always concerned about the quality of education that they're going to get from Tokyo International University, because what's going to happen when they go there. But the fact that more than I think 58% of the professors are from the top 100 ranked universities in the world, and I think 48% were from the top 25 ranked universities in the world. That says something, and I think a significant number are from universities like MIT or like the top 5 or 10 universities.
Yeah, we have a number of professors who studied at Ivy League universities as well.
Right. So to have access to professors like that could be a life-changing experience, especially somebody who wants to do things, interesting things with their lives. They want to do grad school, and those recommendations then come in really, really handy. So that was. Thank you for sharing that. Now I'm gonna, there's a lot of questions, so I'm gonna get to those questions. But I have some personal question myself, and this is to Amer and Amimu. Amimu, if you could answer, you've been in Japan for the last 2 years. Now, did you face any? In fact, I'll ask both of you. Maybe Amimu can answer first, and then Amer. He's more of the veteran here with 3 years instead of 2 years. So, did you face any cultural challenges when you went to Japan? Was there any problems? Is there anything that new students can look out for or look forward to?
So, okay, thank you. When I first came to Japan, there was this really curiosity that was working for me. I was really excited. I wanted to explore, and I had all this. It was like actually I was numb, you could say, because all the things were coming to my head, and I was not thinking directly what to do at first or something. I was just open to everything. Yeah. So obviously, I was introduced to the Japanese culture a bit through anime movies and everything. So that was not a big culture shock for me, I would say. And like getting managing my life after coming here, I did not have any problem. Obviously, I had the support from my peer assistant that TIU provided me. So yeah, the first few days was not that much of a hassle. And also the Bengali community here at in TIU helped me a lot. I was fortunate enough to get to know them after coming here properly, and they helped me a lot during my first days. So it for me, I think I was really lucky because it was really smooth for me, and I was able to do classes properly and like live a proper life without any sacrifices or something like that. Yeah.
And Amer, you?
To be very honest, I did not face a lot of problems after I came to Japan. Probably the biggest problem was not the culture shock. I'd say the language barrier, because I had very less knowledge on the Japanese language. So after I came to Japan, I basically spoke no Japanese, and not a lot of Japanese people, they don't really speak English. That was probably the biggest problem. Other than that, I really didn't face any other problems because, as
Were you
Amimo,
able to overcome that after your first semester of taking Japanese lessons?
well, yes. Now my Japanese is not that great, but it's conversational.
It's
It's
great.
conversational.
No.
It's actually not great. It's
And,
conversational.
and to give you, my own personal experience, when I go to Japan, obviously, getting around, you need, because the signs are all in Japanese, and a lot of times you need help. So, but when you ask a stranger for help, that's where you get such a warm, people just go out of their way to help you. I mean, even if they don't speak the language, they try to understand and then find the solution, and that I found very fascinating, actually.
That is definitely.
Um, so I'll Maisha, maybe you can take the first question.
Thank you so much for that. All right, so there's a few questions that have come up on the screen. I think we'll just start with the first one. All right, comes from Shadab and says, "Hello, good evening. My question is to both Amer and Amino. What advice would you give Bangladeshi students when it comes to the education, rent, housing, or living in Japan? I guess it's a bit more open. So, any advice for Bangladeshi students?"
Amir Bhaiya, you want to go first?
Ah, sure, sure. Thank you very much for your question. Well, to be very honest, well, um, life in Japan is amazing. I would say you won't really face a lot of problems living in Japan when it comes to rent and housing because, well, housing in Japan is relatively cheaper if you compare with other countries, for example, the United States or Australia, and so on. And part-time jobs are easily available if you want that, so you'll be able to earn at least your living expenses. So that's one plus point. Uh, about education, TIU, one thing that I can guarantee is TIU actually is a very good educational institution, right? You will face no problems whatsoever learning in the university. So, yeah, it's a great experience here.
Yeah, so if I have to say, I obviously agree with what Amir Bhaiya said. And also, I would like to give you some tips, I would say. Yeah, so obviously, the rent here is really cheap. And also, you will be getting the Jaso Scholarship for the first year if you apply in the spring semester. And that really helps. But if you really want to, like, save money and, like, live low, so I mean, like, save money and stuff, you can obviously, rent a house with 2 or 3 of your friends with 2 or 3 rooms, and that is really affordable, I think, like when you like share a house with your friends, yeah, instead of living alone. And yeah, and basically if I have to say about education, right now this fall semester we are doing in-person classes for the IT literate semester. I'm doing that, and I would say that the classes are really engaging and you will have an amazing experience studying at TIU. Yeah, for sure.
Perfect. Thank you so much for sharing those tips. Additional to that, while we're at this conversation, somebody did ask. So Amir shared a little bit that not knowing the language was one of the barriers, but did that hinder your experience in the sense of making friends or say finding a job?
I can talk about the first things, and then maybe Amir Bhai can talk about the job experience.
Yeah,
Yeah.
sure.
So making friends is not hard, obviously, and if you have to go to places, I think Ben obviously mentioned already about the peer assistant thing. So if you really need to go somewhere or do any paperwork or any office thing, you have peer assistants. But also, if you're from Bangladesh, and I would assure you that we have an amazing community here, and you would obviously get help instead if in case you do not want to go with a peer assistant. And for me personally, no, I did not face that. I didn't know any kind of Japanese. I only knew konnichiwa and two or three words, but I did not face that much problem. I had always help, which I'm really grateful for. Yeah, so now I would like to give this floor to Amir Bhaiya.
All right, so I do agree with Amimul. Well, obviously, it's not that hard to make friends because you'll be studying in an international environment. All right, so everyone you'll be going around will speak English, definitely. That's one thing. And about finding a job, well, you do need Japanese if you're looking for a decent job, but there are many job options available which does not require you to know Japanese whatsoever. So if you're new to Japan and if you don't know any Japanese and you want a part-time job, you can get it, and it won't be that hard for you, because that's that for me. I could actually confiscate myself a job without knowing any Japanese whatsoever. Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you so much for sharing.
And you teach English, right, Amir?
Yeah. Currently, I teach English.
That's great. Thank you so much for that. All right. So I think that question can be taken up by Ben. Can you tell us how we can apply for citizenship or PR in Japan after study?
Yeah, of course. So I do also just want to point out that getting a work visa in Japan is quite easy, especially compared to places like the United States right now, where there's kind of like a lottery system. So even if you have a company that sponsors you, you can't get a visa. That is not the case in Japan. If you have a company that's sponsoring you, you're going to get a work visa, is essentially how it is. But for citizenship is quite difficult, and that's kind of a different question, and I can't really advise anybody on that. But for permanent residency, they have a point system right now in Japan. And so there's a number of different categories that you can get points in. So graduating from a Japanese university, having a certain level of Japanese skill, how many years you've been in Japan, if you're under the age of 30, and they have different brackets for that, how much you make at your job after you graduate, your level of Japanese. And so we kind of estimate that if a student graduates from the university and has worked 1 year, depending on a couple things, like, of course, if they're still under the age of 30 or how much they're making at the job, they're very close, if not all the way there with the points, just because they do have that those extra points from graduating from a Japanese university. They've been in Japan for 5 years at that point. That's a number of points as well. They should have a certain level of Japanese. So generally, the old rule in Japan was you have to wait 10 years to apply. But under this new system, you can start to apply from as early as 3 years. But I think for most of our students, it'll be at kind of the 5-year mark that they could look into it.
That is actually quite encouraging.
Yeah, it's really great.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for that, Ben. I think you'd have to take the next one as well. Comes from a student, and she says, she's interested in international relations, and she's already gotten in touch with TIU, and obviously gotten a response that states.
Well, I mean, we can actually take care of that. I mean, because Tamima, if you are interested in applying to TIU, if it is for an undergraduate course, then please feel free to contact us. I mean, send us a message. In fact, maybe one of us will send you a message as well. We can help you with the application process. We've helped, thousands right now for applications to Japan. So, we can certainly help you with that. But remember, if it is TIU, of course, it has to be an undergraduate application. If it is a postgraduate application, we can still guide you, but you can apply for yourself. But yeah, we can certainly do that. And I think the second question is for her as well, which is how many months bank statement. So this is part of your visa process. We can, again, once you get your admissions, first step is to get an offer, and then we can help you with the bank statement and everything. So that's not going to be a major issue at all. And then, of course, this is about the deadlines. You've already mentioned the deadlines, Ben, but if you could just, I mean, for April, I think there is 1 or 2 slots left.
Yeah, I can go ahead and just throw those up on the screen really quickly. But also just, it's good to remember that, yeah, we have a number of different application periods. So you should never feel like you're in a huge rush or anything like that. We do want to make sure that we have those available. But my other piece of advice, and I'm sure Ruham knows this as well, we just recommend that it's better to apply at the beginning of a certain period than at the end of it, just because we want to make sure that everything comes through properly. But as you can see, we have 2 more application periods left for our April intake. So one that begins next week, and then a third one in November. And then if you're looking to join us in September, we have 4 different application periods. So one in November, and then next year we have 3. We have one in January, February, and April. And they're all 3 weeks long. So they open on a Wednesday and they close on a Wednesday.
Why Wednesday? I'm just curious.
Yeah. Honestly, I would like to know that too.
The next question is from Tasneem. Do I have to submit ECA certificate?
What is an ECA certificate?
Oh, extracurricular activities. So,
yeah. So we do have a portion of the application that you can put in your extracurricular activities and upload anything that you want to do that. So yeah, we definitely encourage that. It's definitely something that if you have them, please put them on the application.
I think additional to that question, there was another question where someone asked if someone doesn't have any sort of extracurricular activities, does that really make a difference or a major difference in getting a scholarship?
Yeah, I mean, every application we're looking at holistically, right? So of course, your grades, your English proficiency score, your statement of purpose, those are all, going to weigh more heavily than things like extracurriculars, of course, right? However, I can't say that they have no influence on it, but if you're a really strong student, I wouldn't worry too much about the extracurriculars.
Perfect. Thank you for answering that. So Omar sends us a question saying, if they do start the classes from April, but the border is still closed, hopefully not, and they have to do online classes, do they miss out on the Jaso Scholarship?
Yeah, so the Jaso Scholarship can only be applied for from within Japan. I don't know, just because this case hasn't come up yet, I don't know in terms of, if you start in April and the borders are closed, but you're able to come before September, I believe you'll be able to apply for the half-year run again, but I don't know the exact specifics on that. But once you're enrolled in the university, we send out kind of all the information about the Jaso Scholarship. You have to apply through us. So we'll make sure that students are kept up to date with that.
So just to add to that point, for those who don't know, Ben covered it. Jaso Scholarship is a wonderful scholarship which pays about 48,000 or 49,000 yen per month for living expenses during your first year. Those of you who start in April, they get it for 12 months. Those of you who start in September, they get it for 6 months. Now, the thing is, with the Jaso Scholarship, it's an automatic scholarship, but it's to help you with your living expense when you're in Japan. So if you're obviously not living in Japan, there is no point in giving that because you're in your own country. But in the past, all of our students who've been to Japan has much anything.
That answers the question there. I guess we'll take the last question in regards to the scholarship. So for study gap, do you accept a study gap, and does that hamper scholarships?
Yeah, this is a really great question. So we have kind of all kinds of students that apply. We have students that apply directly out of high school. We have transfer students. We have students that have a gap for, whatever reason, whether it's, medical or kind of other personal reasons or whatever reason they may have. That is not something that we're overly concerned with. If it's something that you want to talk about in your personal statement, we really encourage that, because I think oftentimes those stories can be really great and really show your character. But no, we do have a number of students that have study gaps that apply and are accepted and get great scholarships every year. So I wouldn't be too concerned with that.
And to add to that, like a very good anecdotal reference here. So two of my students this year who applied had 10 years of study gap. So both of these students did their A levels in 2001, and they have like really good students, by the way, all A students. And then they taught, one of them taught English and the other one taught physics or something to students. For the last 10 years, they had financial trouble and everything. So they were they taught, and they had a very big following of students, and they had such great experiences. Both of them applied for an undergraduate program this year and got 100% scholarship. So if you say, does study gap affect? It doesn't hamper scholarship. The university looks at application holistically. So and the in these two cases, the story was really nice. They were able to explain their strengths and their stories really well, and that resulted in a very good scholarship.
Thank you for sharing that, Rohambai. This next question comes from Maksudapu, and that's directed towards Amer. And I guess Amer, she was your counselor when you did your application, and she asks, please share your experience on finding a job, and can you support your tuition fee by working for it?
Well, thank you very much for the question, and thank you, Maksudapu, for forwarding the question to me. Well, when it comes to my experience of finding a job, well, as I told you, to find a decent job, you do need a little bit of Japanese, right? But again, there are a lot of jobs available which do not require you to know Japanese, but those are more labor oriented. All right. So, but you can definitely get jobs quite easily. All right. The only thing you need to do is ask a peer assistant, or even the university. If you there's the International Exchange Office, the IEO. If you contact them, they will also help you look for a job if that's something you wanted to know. But if you even ask your seniors or peer assistants, they can definitely help you find a job. And after you learn a little bit of Japanese, you can find jobs yourself. For me, I currently work as an English teacher. I teach English to students. Doesn't require me to know Japanese at all. It took me a little bit of searching to actually find a job, but I could. And about paying tuition, so I have an 80% tuition reduction scholarship. So I honestly can manage to pay my own tuitions, but I actually don't do that, but it is more than possible. I know a lot of people with 30% scholarship that pay their own tuitions, and they can do it. Yeah, so yes, you can pay your own tuitions. That's correct.
This is a very helpful information. Now, listen, this is for future students. We obviously remember your first goal when you go for your studies is study. That's your first goal, because if you study and do a good result, then you can graduate and get a really good job, and in turn do better for Bangladesh. You become ambassadors for Bangladesh. Now, if you work more than 20 hours, I mean, you can legally work up to 28 hours. If you work up to 20 hours or 25 hours, I don't think, you can that still leaves enough time for you to study and do well. But, remember, the focus has to be your study. So make sure your studies are coming first. But yeah, we have a lot of students who have 30% scholarship, 50% scholarship, who are able to pay for their entire living expense and tuition fee from the part-time job. And of course, remember, during the summers, or I don't know, during that long period, you can actually work 4 months, like full-time. So a lot of people save up during those time and help pay some of the tuition fee as well.
But there's something I want to add to this, Romba, and it is, to be very, as you told me, you can pay your own tuitions by working, even if you have a 30% scholarship. But I wouldn't necessarily recommend that, because it really does hamper your studies a lot. Because if you're working 28 hours and if you have a labor-intensive job, it really, um,
Yeah,
well,
absolutely. Because you have that much energy for the day, and you have to drink a lot of ginseng or whatever they drink these days to get that energy up. Now, Amer and Aminul, this is a question for both of you. This did not come from any of our students. I don't think it's from me personally. Both of you got 80%, which is like the second highest scholarship. Congratulations. So, what do you think? And I'll ask Amir first since he's on the screen. What do you think in your profile helped you get that scholarship?
I think that would be my SOP, statement of purpose. All right, my statement of purpose, because I wrote myself a very good statement of, well, I think it was good because I had my reasons to apply to Japan, and I had my goals. I knew what I wanted to head towards, right? And I mentioned that in my SOP. I guess that really helped. And also, when it comes to my extracurricular activities, I did not submit a lot of them. I submitted 2 or 3, I believe, but they were really good extracurricular certificates. Right? It was not me submitting that I participated in a debate competition or something. It was more like I organized a fest or something like that. So good extracurricular activities did contribute to me getting a good
What
scholarship.
about Aminu?
Okay, so for me, I think it was my statement of purpose as well as the IELTS score, I would say. And I think, yeah, as TIU approaches our applications like holistically, so I think my overall application, I tried to maintain a particular theme, and my goal was the same throughout my overall application in the statement of purpose, in my the essays for the scholarships and everything. So I think that also helped, and my IELTS score was 7. I think that helped me, but it could be better. But I think that's one of the thing. And also for the extracurricular activities, I only submitted 3. One was I opened the debating club at my college, and another one was I was a core member at Awareness 360, and I used to do social works a lot. I used to organize water hygiene and sanitation projects throughout Dhaka slums, and another one was I used to write reports for an online newspaper. And
Wow. So
yeah,
you have very good extracurricular activities. So, I wanted to say this myself, but it seems like Ashfaq and Farhan Ahnaf Mahis
oh my God,
said that took the words out of my mouth. So, proud of you, Amimul,
that's
and
my
proud of you,
brother and
Amir, as
sister.
well. So, a good shout out from them. And I think the next question would be for Ben. Ben, do you accept foundation course? So, for example, a lot of students, they do their O levels and then they do a foundation. They either do it in Malaysia or UK or whatever that gets them into UK universities, um, or Australian universities for that matter. So, do you accept foundation for direct entry?
So it depends on kind of a lot of factors. So if they've done their O levels and then go do a foundation course, the Ministry of Education in Japan doesn't recognize that. So that's not a course that we can accept. We do have a number of students who have done their O levels and gotten their GED, or if your brother did his entire high school career in Malaysia and then did a foundation course, these are all kind of acceptable formats. But we are constrained kind of by the restrictions of MEX, the Ministry of Education here in Japan. So unfortunately, if they do their A levels, it does need to be completed through the A levels as well.
So, Ms. Mahfuza, for your brother, if he just gives a GED, it's a very easy exam to give. That fulfills the admission requirements for TIU and any Japanese university. So, it's fairly easy to do, fairly cheap as well. I think you would be better off going for it, especially if your brother did their O levels and then did the foundation, because that would make them eligible. Yeah, so that's that. I think that has come taken us to pretty much all the questions we wanted to get to. Ben, did you want to share anything else with our students for the application period or for the applications in general?
I think I just want to say, we've covered a lot, but I think Amr and Amimul said it best. Your personal statement is kind of your final chance to really, show your own strengths and make your own voice heard. So I really encourage you to spend maybe just a little bit more time on that, really crafting that. Because especially when your grades are in, when you have your English test, those are kind of set in stone. You can't change those, right? But that personal statement is really kind of the opportunity. So definitely encourage you to do that. And then if you do have any questions, please reach out to Maces. We have worked with you guys for many years now, and it's easier for kind of everyone involved, for you, for us, for Maces. They'll really help you through that entire process from application to the visa process. So just really stick with them. But we're really looking forward to seeing you all apply, and don't hesitate to reach out.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Amimul, did you have any last words?
Well, I'm still very grateful to Maces, to Maksudapu especially. A huge shout out to her. She was amazing. Or when I actually placed my application, she was super helpful. I mentioned this before, not today, before at another live. Well, applying abroad is a very hard process. There's a lot of paperwork. There's a lot of things that you need to do. But Maces made it so easy for me. I still remember well, it did not feel like a lot of work because of Mace. It really helped me a lot. And I thank you, Romba, Maksudapu.
Those of you who are listening, I didn't ask him to say anything about Maces. He didn't do so. Amir, thank you so much. Because validation from our previous students is our biggest kind of strength, and we have grown as an organization because of you guys. Because you have come to us, you have sought our assistance, and then we have been able to take care of that. And I'm so grateful for students like you who remember that. Maksuda is one of our wonderful colleagues. She, in fact, she manages the Japanese department in our office, and she takes a leadership role in that. Amimul, any last words from your end?
Yeah, I absolutely agree with Amir Bhaiya, and I am also really, really grateful to Maces, and especially Omar Bhaiya, who initially helped me, and also Maksuda Apu. I was lucky enough to get help and assistance from both of them. And yeah, actually, as Amir Bhaiya said, like applying abroad is it takes a lot of paperwork and everything. And I personally was not ready that time to do and go through all of this. I was always nervous and scared about it. And Omar Bhaiya and Maksudapu was always there for me and always cleared my all confusions. And yeah, and it actually made the whole journey easier. And also thank you so much to Roham Bhaiya. I remember there was this pre-departure session during our time at the Westin, and we got the opportunity to connect with the students from Bangladesh before coming to TIU, and it was a really nice gesture from Maces, I would say. And yeah, and if any one of you is like interested to apply to TIU, please, I would just message them. I would say message Maces. Yeah, and thank you so much for
that pre-departure briefing was supported by Tokyo International University themselves. So TIU, Thank you so much for that. So those of you, if you've listened in, you would like to apply, we would, it's our privilege to help you. You can contact us on Facebook. If you're watching this, you can send us a comment or send us a direct message. You can call us at 017-5566-0012. You can email us at mail@macesbd.com. So, we're very, you can go to our website and message us from there. It's www.macesbd.com. So for those of you who listen, thank you so much. Ben, Amimul, Amer, Maisha, thank you so much, for spending your precious time. I know it's quite late in Japan as well. So thank you so much for giving time as usual. It's always a pleasure to have you and speak to you guys.
Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you
so much, everyone.
Thank
you. Have a good night.